Good morning, everyone. I hope all of you had a great weekend. Today, our lesson is going to be a bit different than before. I will focus more on your speaking performance through interactive speaking activities. That means you get to work with a partner for the most part of today's lesson. Since English is not our first language, it's very important for you to keep improving, or else it will be very difficult for you to understand the language. Don't worry, the activities today are relatively easy, just a bit more different than usual. Each one of you will have the opportunity to speak when discussing with your partner and presenting your ideas to the class. At the end of today's lesson, we will review the activities together to make sure that you understood the lesson. Please do not hesitate to ask questions. I will try my best to answer them. Okay, before we begin the lesson, I would like to start the day with a quick and fun warm-up activity. Don't worry, this activity is not too hard, but it is certainly exciting. We are going to play a game. Have you ever played the last letter word chain?
No.
Have you? No? Oh, Nabila is yes. Then let me explain it to you. Firstly, to start the game, I will give you a word, then each of you will give me a word that begins with the letter that the previous word ends in. For example, as you see on the slide here, there's a picture of an apple. The word apple ends with the letter E. So to continue the game, you need to find me a word that begins with the letter E. Any suggestion, class?
How about the word eyes?
Eyes. Yes, you are right, Farisyah. However, I'm going to make it a bit more challenging for you. Other than giving me a word, you will also have to make a sentence with the word you suggested. In this case, you give me the word eyes. So can you form a sentence from this word, Farisyah?
The color of my eyes is brown.
Well done. Now that you have understood the rules, we will begin the game with Nabila, and then Farisyah, and lastly Alex. We will keep going until we'll have complete 2 rounds, okay? Okay, what do you see on the slide here?
I see a basket, teacher.
Yes, you are right. Thank you, Alex. Nabila, you can start the game, Nabila, with Alex's word basket.
Turkey. My family and I went to Turkey last summer.
Young. The young boy loves to play in the park with his toys.
I think the word gentle. Her cat is very gentle with human.
Very good. This round went better than I expected. Now for the next round. Okay, let's see. As you can see here, there's a picture of a pair of scissors. Nabila, can you find me a word that starts with the letter S? Come on, Nabila.
Shelter. I adopted an orange cat from the animal shelter.
Good.
Rough. The texture of the sand is really rough.
Good too.
I think the word hand. Amir writes with his left hand.
Good job, everyone. That marks the end of today's warm-up activity. I hope everyone is excited about our lesson today. All right then, let's review the basic concept of poetry we learned last time. Do you still remember them? I hope you do. Now, just to make sure you have mastered all of the key elements, let's review them one more time. Nabila, do you mind telling me what exactly is a poem?
A poem has different lines that are grouped into stanza. It is usually written with a specific rhyme and rhythm.
Yes, that's right, Nabila. To make it clear, poetry is a work of writing which is used to express ideas and emotion. However, it is different from a story because poems are written in lines rather than sentences. These lines are then grouped into multiple stanzas which are similar to paragraphs you will find in a written text. Next, poems are formed with rhyming lines and rhythm. Rhymes are the repetition of syllables which is at the end of the line. For example, the poet can use rhyming words that have the same or similar ending sound such as good, boat, float, could. Rhythm in a poem, however, refers to the beat of the flow of the poem. Now that we have reviewed the basic concept of poetry, I would like any of you to list the poetry elements we learned last time. Anyone?
I would like to try. We learned about the persona, characters, settings, themes, symbols, and mood. Is that right?
Good job, Farisyah. Yes, you're correct. I will go over these elements with you again, just to make sure you understood them completely. What is a persona? Alex, do you remember?
Persona is the speaker of the poem.
Yes, that is correct. Persona is usually the one that tells the plot of the poem to us. Next, we'll also learn a bit about character in a poem. Characters in a poem can be anything, a person, an animal, or even an object. I know that you are familiar with the two types of characters, the hero or the good person, and the villain or the bad person. Next, we will focus on the setting. Nabila, do you mind telling me what a setting is?
Setting is where and when events in the poem take place.
Yes, you are right. The setting can be anywhere the poet wants it to be. For example, the poem can take place in a garden, a forest, a haunted house, or somewhere fantastical. Another important element of a poem is the theme, which can be considered the main idea or message that the poet wants to deliver to the readers. So when reading a poem, you should always try to recognize what the poet is trying to say through their writing. Moving on to symbols. Farisyah, what do you know about symbols in poetry?
Symbols can be anything like an object or a person which stands for something else.
Correct. To make it clear, I will give you an example. The color white is usually used to represent purity or kindness, whereas the colors red and black are mostly used to represent something evil. Okay, last but not least, we also learn about the mood in poetry. It can either be sad, happy, scary, or any other emotion. That concludes our short review of poetry general concept and basic elements. I hope you have understood and remember all of these important terms. Students, please turn to chapter 6, page 73 of your English textbook. Today we are going to focus on a short poem titled The Craze, written by Teo Huy Bien, as you can see. This poem has 4 stanzas with 4 lines each. Now, I will read this poem aloud to you, so please focus on my reading because a few of you will be reading this poem again to the class later. All I want is a human touch. For a touch-screen pad, I do not care much. Is there meaning in technology as such? a mere fact that does nothing much. Now, you can cut and paste so that nothing goes to waste. Is technology the cause for race? Pray be done with the grace. A world of technology is where we live, where the internet is an imperative. Connections without which we cannot live. Detrimental, inexcessive. Let us chat face to face and dispense with cyberspace. Let us communicate with grace to reconnect the human race. Students, are there any words that you don't know the meaning of? Please raise your hands and tell me so I can tell you the meaning of the word.
Teacher, I do not understand the meaning of the word imperative from the third stanza.
All right, imperative refers to something important. So the writer is telling us from these lines that technology is important to us. It is something we need in life. And anyone else?
Teacher, what is the meaning of the detrimental? It's also in stanza 3.
Oh, detrimental is something that can cause harm or danger. In this case, the writer is telling us that too much use of technology can be harmful to us. Are there any more words you don't know the meaning of? No, all right, let's continue our lesson. For today's lesson, I want all of you work in pairs. You are free to choose your own partner. Now, each pair, you and your partner can choose one stanza from this poem. Then both of you will have to analyze the stanza and discuss its meaning. You will have around 3 minutes to discuss this with your partner. I want all of you to cooperate and work together. If there are any questions, then feel free to ask me. Okay, 3 minutes is up. Please wrap up your discussion. Now let's start with stanza 1 of the poem. Which pair picked this stanza?
I did, and my partner is Farisyah.
All right, please share your thoughts with the class. But first, one of you will have to read the stanza aloud. Any volunteers?
I don't mind reading it, teacher.
All right, go ahead, Farisyah.
All I want is a human touch. For a touchscreen pad, I do not care much. Is there a meaning in technology as such? Can be a fact that does nothing much.
Well done. Thank you, Farisyah. However, I would like to point out that your reading is a bit monotonous since you didn't focus on the punctuation marks. As you can see, the fourth line of the stanza has a question mark, which is used to indicate that is a question. So you need to make it clear that you are asking a question and not just making a statement. For example, is there meaning in technology as such? Okay, also take a look at the last line. There's an exclamation mark, is it? An exclamation mark, as you should already know, is used to express strong feeling such as surprise, anger, or joy. In this case, the poet is showing his anger toward technology. So you have to read it like this. A mere fact that does nothing much. We should express the anger, okay? Do you understand, Farisyah?
Yes, teacher. I'll make sure to work on it.
Okay, please do. It is important to work on your intonation as it plays as a major role in expressing your attitude and feeling about something. Now, moving on to the meaning of the stanza. Alex, what can you tell me about stanza 1 of this poem?
Stanza 1 of this poem shows the poet's loneliness as he longs for human interactions. He doesn't care much about about the technology around him. Instead, he thinks it is useless. The Pope also showed his dislike for technology such as the touch screen pads.
Yes, that's right. Can you tell me which line shows the poet dislike for technology?
The last line of the stanza, a mere fad that does nothing much.
Correct. Okay, now Nabila, do you mind reading stanza 2 for me?
All right, teacher. Now you can cut and paste so that nothing go to waste. This technology the cause for list pre-bida with the craze.
Well done. Thank you, Nabila. However, I would like to point out that your voice was a bit soft, so it was quite hard for me to focus on your reading. You also read a bit fast, so it sounds like you were just mumbling the words. Remember to pronounce the word clearly so the audience can understand you better. For example, since the word at the end of the line rhyme, pace, waste, and lace, crisp, you need to pronounce the word clearly so that the audience can understand and recognize the difference between those words. You should also focus on the volume of your voice. Since you are reading aloud to the whole class, your voice needs to be louder so that everyone can hear you clearly. It is important to speak clearly so it won't cause misunderstanding between you and the audience. Do you understand, Nabila?
Yes, teacher. I will try to read at a slower pace and louder next time.
Okay, next, who can tell me the meaning of stanza 2?
Can I try?
Sure, go ahead, Alex.
I think the poet is trying to tell us that technology has made humans lazier compared to before.
Do you mind telling me the reason for that?
Because technology has made life so much easier for us. We don't have to work so hard anymore. For example, the poet here is trying to say that we no longer have to recreate or retype something because we can just copy and paste it instead.
Yes, you explained that really well. Now let's move on to the other two stanzas. All right, thank you all for sharing your ideas with the class. You were on the right track with the explanation. But what exactly is this poem trying to tell us? Let me explain it to you in more detail. It can be seen here that the poet views technology as something very important in our life. This is completely true, is it? We use gadgets like our phones, tablets, and computers to do many things. For example, you might use it to play games, watch movies, and listen to the music. The poet is also trying to tell us that we use technology too much to the point we become lazy. This is also true because, unlike before, technology does most of the work for us. For example, instead of sweeping the floor with a broom, your parents might prefer to use vacuum since it's so much easier for them. So what the poet is trying to tell us is that we focus too much on using technology to the point we forget about the simple things we can do without the use of technology. In this case, the poet used communication as an example. Most of us prefer to use phones to call, text, and reach out to our friends, even if they live so close to us. I mean, as long as it's possible to meet up and talk, why didn't we just communicate with each other face to face? The simple answer is we depend too much on technology. This is exactly the message that the poet is trying to deliver to you as the reader. I hope you understand the message of this poem clearly. You might view this poem differently than I do, but that's completely fine because all of us have our own opinions. Okay, since we have discussed the meaning of each stanza, there are a few important questions related to the content of this poem. But before that, why do you think that this poem speaks about technology? I would like any of you to volunteer and answer this question.
The poem shows us that in our current modern life, we actually depend and rely more on technology compared to life before.
Yes, that can be one of the reasons. For example, gadgets like our phones and touchscreen pad are invented to make our life easier in many aspects. Now, the thing I want to ask all of you is, based on the poem, what are the effects of technology on communication and human interaction? I will randomly choose whoever to give their opinion about this. Think about it. You can choose to talk about the good or the bad effects of technology on communication and interaction. Or you can combine both the good and the bad effects. First up, Nabila, would you like to share your thoughts with the class?
Yes, teacher. I think technology has negative effects on human interaction and communication because it encourages fewer face-to-face interaction between people. For example, some people rarely go out to meet and talk to other people because they are used to communicate with their phones. This might cause them to have social anxiety later on as they don't usually communicate with others physically.
Yes, that is true. Unfortunately, this has been one of the reasons why people these days struggle to socialize, make friends, and meet new people. For example, a simple ice-breaking session will give them quite enough rag just to start conversation with each other. Excellent answer given by Nabila. Thank you. And now, Farisyah, care to continue the discussion?
Yes, teacher. My thoughts on technology are more positive. I believe that technology actually helps people to keep in touch with each other, especially for long distance. For example, a mother who misses her son in college can check up on him whenever she wants, no matter how far her son is. Without technology, it would be difficult for the mother to talk to her son because she would have to travel a long distance every time.
I like the idea of yours, Farisyah. Technology is not always negative. Hearing your perspective on technology can make us look and think about it in a more positive way. Now, I would like to hear from you, Alex. What do you think about technology's effect in this aspect?
I prefer to stay neutral about this. Technology can be good and bad at the same time. It depends on how the person uses it. It doesn't hurt the communication and interaction between people as they can still communicate using technology, nor affects their skills in interacting with each others. That is what my opinion about the effect of technology on communication and interaction between humans.
Your statement is refreshing, Alex. The way everyone gave their answers was magnificent, and we all have to accept it with an open mind. How we perceive technologies differs from each other, but that should not make us biased to it. We will use technology at the end of the day, and what we can do is not misuse the benefits of technology. Thank you everyone for giving such a great opinions about the effects of technology on communication and human interaction. We're very happy with all of your performance and participation today. Before I end today's lesson, I want to ask a few questions relating to the speaking activities just to test your understanding of our lesson today. I will show the question on the slide here, and I will give you about 2 minutes to think and recall what we learned. Okay, the time starts now.
In my opinion, I really like the poem. This is because the poem relates to our generation nowadays, relating to technology. It shows how humans rely and depend more on technology in doing everyday activities compared to before. This really captures my interest in reading and understanding this poem.
Okay, good answer, Alex. Yes, this poem really relates to our generation now. Next, I want to hear Nabila opinion. Nabila?
For me, I like the poem even more after you explain each stanza. At first, I didn't really understand the meaning of certain words in the poem, but after you explain and discuss it, I understood the message of the poem and how it relates to us.
That's great, Nabila. I'm glad that you understood the poem. Okay, finally, Farisyah, how about you?
I also like the poem, teacher. It is a very interesting poem to read. I love how the poem is related to our lifestyle now. I also learned many new things about the impacts of technology on communication and human interaction.
Good opinion, Farisyah. Thank you for your cooperation. I'm glad that all of you liked the poem and understood the message that poet is trying to deliver. We have done all of the speaking activities today. I would like to thank all of you for your contribution, participation, effort, and attention during the lesson. I hope all of you have gained a better understanding of poetry. I also hope that these speaking activities have made you gain more confidence in speaking to larger audience without feeling too nervous and anxious about making mistakes in your speaking. You are doing well, but there is always room for improvement. You can try these tips to get better results. You should be more careful with your pronunciation, make more use of conjunction to link your sentence when speaking, and try to speak at a considered pace. These aspects are very important to ensure you are able to attract the audience interest and understanding of the topic you are speaking about. It is great that you are trying your best, but don't stop here. Keep pushing yourself to get even better results. Okay, that's all for our today class. Thank you, everyone. See you next time. Bye.